Okay, that in fact you just made a correct statement, Thomas, and that the Buddha would talk about it in the sense of seclusion, getting away from it all. If a doctor is going to learn how to practice equanimity or upekkha, he needs to get out of the crisis ward, needs to get out of intensive care ward where all the people are there because they're dying already, and go maybe be in pediatrics for a while, right, where you can work with kids to learn to become a doctor. Okay, so in that regard, that's what retreat centered, in fact, that's what the word retreat should mean. It's got two major meanings to the word retreat, and the one that we're not using is like coming out of the battle because you're losing the war. That's what retreat means in general, that the troops are retreating because they're getting their butt beat. But in a way, that's what you need to do anyhow, because people who are interested in Dhamma practice is because they're already recognizing that in the world they're getting their butt beat. And so getting away from all of that and getting into seclusion means that now we can begin to practice where it's easy. The way that I would talk about it, at another analogy, is going to the gym. People don't go at their first time to the gym, or even for the first few months, they don't go back to the back of the gym and pick up those great big barbells that's got 100 kilos on each side. You don't start there. Where do you start? You start with dumbbells, maybe 1-2 kilos, and start doing reps. Okay? So you start easy and you do it over and over and over again. That will help build the strength. It's the repetition, not the jerking. Okay? So the whole point of a retreat then is to get away from it all so that you can start to practice that repetition of keep coming back to having wholesome thoughts. That in fact it's not a good practice the way that the let us call it the Western Mahasi method, not the Mahasi Sayadaw method, but the Western Mahasi method of just noting and just noting and just noting. That's like walking into the gym and just looking at barbells, just looking at dumbbells, just looking at the equipment, walking around. That's interesting. I'll try that someday. That basically, no, we've got to start putting some effort in. But we don't want to kind of put the effort in where we're going to keep losing. We want to put the effort in and make a success. One success after another. And the success, in this case, is twofold. One is beginning to get satisfaction. And then the later success is knowing that you've got it. That's the real success. Of knowing that without a doubt, no matter how mind gets tangled up or in hindrances, that you can come out of it. That's the real success. Most people, when they start to practice, in fact, when they say things that are wholesome, like everything's all right and everything is fine, they actually don't even believe it. They think they're lying to themselves, where in fact, all it is that it's good information that's contradictory to all the lies they've been telling themselves for years. because everything is okay, everything is fine. But it's hard to do that when you're out in the world. So the Buddha recommends going to seclusion. Go to the foot of a tree, go to an empty hut, or in your case, maybe go to a 3-day retreat. But getting away from the world. Okay, and then start taking the right effort to come away from the world that you brought with you in your mind. So it's kind of like a two-step process in a way of get seclusion away from the world and then get seclusion away from the lies that you've been telling yourself that you picked up in the world. And start taking the right effort then to come out of those lies and start telling you the truth. An example of that right now you're okay. Right now you're not in danger. Right now you're in a room that's closed. But if you're, let us say, at an airport, things can get really dangerous at an airport. You got security guards, you got a lot of crazy people, ordinary people, but when they go to the airport, they get crazy. And so airports are not a good place to practice. Unless, of course, you're stuck at the airport because you've got kind of no choice about it. And then, of course, you would rather practice there than not. Because when you're not practicing, then everything feels like danger. But the reality is the danger is not that big. But when you're in seclusion, the real reality is that you're safe. And in fact, if you go to the forest or a foot of a tree or an empty hut, that's even safer than a retreat. A lot of people don't feel safe at a retreat. They feel like that they got to follow the rules, or feeling like the instructor and his volunteer cadre are watching you. That's especially true with women because they think that all the men on the other side of the room are watching them. And that's probably true. And so retreats are not all of that safe psychologically. But you can still practice correctly at the retreat by recognizing that in reality, you are safe. So what if the instructor is looking at you? So what if the boys across the room are looking at you? So what if the old lady is coughing? That's not dangerous. But we don't like it sometimes, and if we don't like it, then that's the danger. The danger is wanting things that we don't have, rather than coming into a state of satisfaction. And the way to come into satisfaction is by beginning to have wholesome thoughts about satisfaction. That everything's okay, everything is fine. You've heard me talk about this before, and this is the way to handle a retreat. That a lot of people go to those retreats, even a 3-day retreat, and they wind up miserable, can't wait to get out of the place. But you went to the retreat and you enjoyed yourself, so you're doing something right.
I just love it. Can't wait to get more.
So the next point that we can cover about that is that you said that you were in doubt and fear about where do you go next?
Yeah, about the intensity of the practice.
Don't practice intensely. There's no reason to practice intensely. That intensity of practice is very much like concentration.
Oh,
Okay, and when I say concentration, I'm talking about it like this. Okay, that's the concentration that most people think of in the West. Another way to look at concentration is like this. Keep coming back. Come back. Come back. Come back to the wholesome. Come back to happy thoughts. Come back to everything is okay. No dangers. Nothing to worry about. Everything is okay. Keep coming back to that. And so when those thoughts of doubt arise, you can say, aha, I see that doubt. And I already know how to practice, so there's no reason to deal with the doubt. We can just forget about the doubts, forget about those kind of thoughts, and come back and have happy, wholesome thoughts. Everything's okay, everything is nice, everything is all right. This is what needs to be practiced, and that will lead one to the state of, I can do this. That success, that real success, only comes after we come to the state of satisfaction. Now, the important point about the word satisfaction is that the Pali word is sukha. And the word sukha actually is an opposite of the word dukkha. And that we translate dukkha as dissatisfaction, unsatisfied, wanting things we don't have, putting up with things we don't want to put up with, like in a retreat, body pain, boredom, things like that. They take your cell phone, they take your laptop, they take your books, right? They take things that can help you escape from the reality of the moment. And so what is left is the reality of people getting bored, people coming into doubt, people becoming restless, and all the hindrances come up. You see, when we're in the outside world, most of the hindrances that come up in the form of interactions with other people and situations. But when we get off into a retreat, into a place of our own, then we don't have to put up with the hindrances of the world, but we have to put up with the hindrances of our own mind. Wanting to go something or someplace, wanting to get something out of it, wondering what to do next, etc., like that. And the practice is actually very simple. Can you see that you're dissatisfied? Can you see that you want something you don't have? Can you see the restlessness? Can you see that worry? Can you see the doubt about what to do next? Can you see the fear and the trepidation of the intensity of it? Where in fact there's no reason for things to be intense. You can say, wow, I made it intense when in fact I could just relax. So that's what we're going to be looking for, even in a Zen retreat. It doesn't matter what kind of retreat it's called, they all have that same quality, is that you leave the world in order to get away from all that crap, and then you wind up bringing a whole lot of crap with you. In the form of doubt, worry, restlessness, insecurity, fear, feeling confused, not knowing what to do or where to go. And the answer to that is, are you able to remember to look at that stuff? Can you mind that stuff? Can you become mindful that your mind is playing tricks upon you? What tricks is it playing? The tricks that you were taught for your whole life. The tricks of things are not good enough. I mean, how can politicians get people to vote for them unless the politicians are telling the people things are not good enough? Here, elect me to office and we'll get rid of the immigrants. That's true in Europe and in America. The other team comes up and says, vote for us because we're going to give you something you don't have and you want it. So one is based in fear and the other one is based in greed. And if the politician says that comes to office say, hey man, everything is okay, everything is fine, not a worry in the world, how many people are going to go vote for him?
No one.
Okay, so politics and news and all of that media stuff and the world and all the people who listen to it are in a state of doubt and confusion and worry and thinking that something is wrong with immigration, thinking that their income is not high enough, that they want more, and all of that. So when you go into the retreat, the thing to practice is while I'm here, everything is okay. I can set all of that stuff aside, not only in reality because I came to the retreat, but mentally also. And so when people start to think about the retreat, that's when the worry, the doubt, the desires come up for what they can get out of meditation, what they can get out of the retreat. And when you can see that stuff, you can recognize I'm not here to get anything. I'm here because I'm already satisfied. So we practice satisfaction. Yeah, things are good. Wow, I can sit here for 3 days with nowhere to go and nothing to do, and wow, this is nice.
So there really is nothing else to do than to hang out in satisfaction.
Mm-hmm. And get into the habit of satisfaction. Because our whole lives we've been taught to be in a state of being dissatisfied. And one of the primary parts about that is that we see that it's always something else's fault. It's my mommy's fault, it's the politician's fault, it's that fault, it's the teacher's fault, he didn't teach me well enough. All of that blaming comes from the victim's mentality.
Mm.
And what we develop is in the practice of anapanasati is develop to come out of the attitude of being a victim into the attitude of I can handle this. I don't have to blame anybody for it. Whatever it is that I'm blaming somebody for, I created it, and right now I can uncreate it, or I can create something different. And in that regard, we start to come out of that attitude of they did it to me
Mm.
into the attitude of, hey, I can do this. Instead of waiting for the bell to ring, which happens in a lot of the meditation retreats, people are sitting there waiting for the bell to ring. And when you have thoughts of, I wish the bell would ring, because that's dissatisfaction, wanting something you don't have. It's not ringing yet. Did you do that at all? Hoping that the
At
bell
the
would?
first morning, but after that, I just enjoyed it completely. And when the body got too comfortable, I laid down, and then I got back up the seat, and yeah, it just was lovely. Yeah.
Great. You do recognize, though, that some of the people who don't have quite the practice experience that you do, they'll go to the 3-day retreat without having any experience. And every session, they're waiting for the bell to ring. And on the last day, they're waiting for the last day to be over. That almost always people are most happy at the end of the retreat. Their relief comes because the retreat's over, as opposed to the relief comes because, wow, I'm in retreat now. I can relax. What a joy, what a relief it is to be in retreat. But ordinary people, they get their joy and relief because they're finished with the retreat and they can go back to the world that they're used to.
Mm.
So this is the way to practice. When do you start that Zen retreat?
It'll be next Monday and end in next Friday.
Okay. So whatever they say, follow their directions but the important point is that you've got a choice about what thoughts you're having at any particular moment of time. Wanting the bell to ring, that's dukkha. That's wanting something you don't have. Sitting because your legs hurt and you continue to sit, that's not a good idea. The Buddha wouldn't sit when his legs are hurting. He would stand up and walk around. But a lot of the retreats, they say, oh, you got to sit there. You got to let it hurt so you can manage the hurt. Buddha doesn't manage hurt. What he manages is to get out of the hurt. So if something is hurting, stop it. The body is telling you, hey, man, don't make me sit here on the floor. I can't handle that. So we have to listen to what the body is saying. We have to listen to what the mind is saying. We have to listen to our attitude. And in that regard, we can also begin to control our feelings. Most people never figured out that they can control their feelings. They always think, everybody that I've ever met thinks that the feelings come and they are swamped by those feelings. We even have it built into the language, like I am frustrated. Like I'm the one who is frustrated, which means the frustration owns me. Like I am American, which means the American government owns me. And so instead you can say, aha, I see that frustration, and separate yourself from it. I've actually heard, I haven't mentioned this before, it comes from an old comedian many, many years ago. His name was Charlie Chaplin. Have you ever heard of him? Okay, he had the saying that when you are close to something, it looks like a tragedy. And when you come away from it, everything is okay. It's like a house. You look at the house, oh, the house is beautiful from a block away. But when you get really close to it, maybe with a magnifying glass, you begin to see the paint's peeling, nails are rusting, all kinds of things. And so getting away from it is literally what we mean is distance yourself from your own feelings. They're not really yours, they're just feelings.
Yes, sometimes there are these states where kind of it seems like all the feelings are inside this huge cloud of loving kindness and okayness. And it's just so lovely to see the feelings, look at them, and they are like delicious, even sadness, fear, and yeah, they're just delicious in there.
Yes, having those kind of images is useful. I normally speak of it in the sense of language, but having imagery of everything is okay. Everything is soft and fluffy. Everything is comfortable. Everything is juicy, in fact.
What a relief.
Yes, nice, easy breathing. Everything's okay. Nothing to do. Everything is all right.
Very good. Right.
All right. I think you got it. I think you can go off to that retreat and have a whiz bang happy time.
Yes. Mm.
All
Thank you.
right. Okay, well, let's finish the call now and we'll talk to you later. Call me when you get out of the retreat.
All right, will do.
All right. We'll see you.
Take care.